Today I'm joined by a fellow Northern Californian. Don't judge us. We're both on the same page. Lauren B. Jones is joining me today. Lauren is the founder of Leap Consulting Solutions and has been a leader, influencer, and innovator in the staffing industry for just over 23 years. Lauren's love and obsession for technology has helped shape her career and provide a stellar reputation as a tech stack expert, industry trailblazer, and business operations guru. Now, if you read anything about the write-up I did beforehand, Lauren has tons of awards from the staffing industry, and I'm really honored and humbled to have her on the show today. Lauren and I are really going to dive in on how technology is impacting the recruiting world and ways you can leverage it to accelerate growth. Lauren, thank you for being here with me today.
Oh my goodness, Donnie. Thank you so much for having me. I love live. So I am tickled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sweet. So give the audience a little bit of feedback. Where are you located? You live in, and I mentioned Northern California, but tell us a little bit about where you're living, your family, and things outside of the business world.
Oh, that's the best part, right? I don't know about you, but I work to live. I don't live to work. So I live in a farming suburb just outside of Sacramento. So I'm on a farm. As that's part of the GOAT on LinkedIn is the GOAT leader. It's a double entendre. I have 20 some odd goats and greatest of all time, right? So
there you go.
But I am just about to be an empty nester again because my then 19-year-old went off to college. She was the last one. I have a 23-year-old daughter and a 20-year-old daughter. And my youngest went off to college, and I went through the whole empty nester boohoo brigade. And then COVID brought her back. Psych. And she has, as she states, been here against her will for the last year. And she is moving out to this weekend, actually. So I'm going to go through the tears and boohooing all over again. But I'm super fortunate. I have two really, really smart girls. My eldest just finished grad school and got her teaching credential and is teaching now. And then my youngest is pre-law. So
Excellent.
I have a good set of kids. I live on the farm with my husband and just a gaggle of animals.
Tons of goats. You said you had 20 goats.
20 some odd goats, 19 sheep, 25 chickens, some geese and ducks, and 5 dogs. And we are wildlife rehabilitation specialists. So
Wow.
we have a raccoon coming this weekend. So, it's always something fun on the farm.
It's an animal house for sure.
It is for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here with me today. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. I mean, how did you get into the staffing and recruiting industry?
My goodness, like so many, just really serendipitously. I came fresh out of school and I was a musician. And so, I needed a day job while I was gigging at night. And I got a what was it, data and analytics position at a pharmaceutical company. My Mima was a good Southern woman, and she said, you know what, the only job I ever did have was as a Kelly girl, so that's what you should do. And so I signed up with Kelly Girl, and the rest is history. You kind of fall into it, and I sort of fell in love with the idea of being this career matchmaker, and I was pretty good at it. I think any creative, I think you'll find anybody who's really good at in our industry has some sort of creative background, I feel like.
Right. So you worked for a firm for a while. Did you ever own your own?
No. So I took sort of the traditional path. I started as a temp. And then I went on as a recruiter, and then I had a knack for the big stuff. So I worked with, when Y2K happened. So now I'm going to really date myself. Thanks, Donnie. Really date myself. I did Novell's Brain Shared in preparation for Y2K. I supported Microsoft, Capital One, all of these big ones. And then when I got married, I transferred and then took over Office of the President for Kelly Services for Johnson & Johnson, and was recruited. I don't think I'd ever had to look for a job. I was always kind of recruited away. And then I went to what is now Employ Bridge. I was with Remedy, then it was Select. Now it's Employ Bridge. And then from Select, I was recruited by Volt. And then I was a boomerang. Like any good industry person, you got to be a boomerang at least once, right? So I left Volt, went to another small mid-sized firm, which I feel like was one of the best learning opportunities that I had in my career, because you have to be so scrappy when you are a small firm. It was a $25 million local. It was a $30 million firm by the time, I left. And, but there's scrappiness required, and flexibility and agility and all the abilities. And I felt like it taught me so much, and complemented the enterprise, that, having to wrap your arms around the ocean mentality that you get from enterprise, and then complement that with this scrappiness. It was a really, really cool sort of trajectory. I went back to Volt, and then was an early sort of casualty of COVID. And I decided at that point, I'd already had this like burning desire. I was starting to have really strong opinions. My career took a technology pivot in about 2012, where I was tapped on the shoulder to take on a more corporate role that had to do with technology and consolidation. I had done a lot of really creative things in my own backyard in Northern California. I had chat in 2011. I had already consolidated. I moved VMS and MSP out of my retail branches and consolidated it, and had figured out a bunch of really efficient ways to get profitable, and was sort of tapped on the shoulder to say, hey, there's a bigger opportunity to do some corporate consolidation. Would you be interested in that? And I didn't really have a choice. No, I'm just kidding. I always tease Rana. Rana Driggs is the CEO of Impresaria, a dear friend and an amazing mentor. She tapped me on the shoulder and said, I think that there's something that could be really beneficial here for you. And that was my pivot from traditional staffing to technology, and how it was influencing our world. And so I've spent the last better part of a decade just really focused on the technology and how it impacts our world, good, bad, or indifferent. And so it's been a hell of a ride. And like I said, a early sort of casualty of COVID, and I had all of these forming opinions that were getting really loud, and felt like I had already sort of felt there's a little bit of muzzleness that goes on. Are in a corporate environment. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want to be muzzled anymore. Right. And so I needed the freedom to express myself and my opinions. And so opening my own firm was the only thing that I could do.
Nice. So did you just open that this year?
2020.
2020. Okay, cool.
Yeah, March 2nd of 2020. My timing is amazing, right?
That is pretty much spot on. Yeah, that's really good. That's cool. So that's pretty amazing. So you went from you got the idea in the corporate world, but kind of held you back a little bit in terms of you being able to speak freely about your thoughts and opinions.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, anytime that you're representing the brand, right. You're talking to counsel about, what are going to be the talking points, and preparing everybody for, I don't know what tomfoolery they thought I was going to say, but I thought I was a complete jackwagon. And, but no, it was a little restrictive. And, I thought that social media was a great way to help small and mid-sized firms in particular, who have a big impact on our industry, but don't necessarily have all the support that they need. And right. I saw that firsthand at Star was, these guys are underrepresented. You look at MSPs, right? MSPs and VM, to participate in a VMS is expensive if you want to do it in an integrated way. And yet these large MSP partnerships, they are required to have you work with minority owned vendors, and it's really expensive to participate. So how do we help the minority owned firms, small staffing business owners? How do we help them meaningfully participate in some of these bigger programs that really need them? And so, I just felt I felt like I needed to do something. So right. I did.
Awesome. So your bigger why, personally, it was like, I want to be able to express myself, but you just kind of feel like you found a void in the market that you really wanted to serve. And that's kind of that small business, minority owned businesses, like you were saying.
Yeah.
That's the big why behind Leap.
Oh, so the Leap, that is so funny. That's a story. So, My husband and I compliment each other. You know, you haven't been married for 24 years unless you compliment one another.
Yeah.
And I am definitely, I've told the story a couple of times, and I am definitely the, you know, dip your toe in the water, Sally safety, where's the equipment? I'm definitely not packing my own chute. I'll have a professional do that. You know,
Right.
I am not, and my husband is like, just jump, build your wings on the way down, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, no. What do we have math on that? You know, what's going to happen, what the consequences might be? What are the analytics? What's the data
Right.
telling us? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my brain is going through all of that. My husband's like, just go and just leap.
Right.
And then, you know, he would tell me that all the time. And it just happens that our family is Lauren, Emily, Allison, and Peter. And so our farm is aptly named Leaping Farms. And so Leap Consulting Solutions was born.
Got it. Your mic just went quiet on me there for a second. Are you still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep. All right, cool. That's a really cool story. And yeah, thank you for sharing all that. So that's where Leap came from, taking the leap. I can definitely relate with your husband. That's what I do. I just go for it.
I know. I am definitely much more cautious than my husband is, but that's, you know, that's also, there's a good thing there, and there's got to be somewhere in the middle. And I think that what I've learned as an entrepreneur is that, you know, action trumps inaction all day long. So it doesn't have to be, and what I've learned more than anything in the course of the last year being in business is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done.
Right. Yeah. Still dealing with some volume. I can barely hear you on my end. I don't know what's going on, but I want to make sure.
Okay.
Bear with us as we deal with technical difficulties.
This is my podcasting microphone.
Yeah. Are you, is it connected? Still can't hear you. Huh. Maybe try the, maybe it's a Zoom thing. Maybe that mic's not the one that's hooked up properly.
It is. I checked it before we got on here.
Huh.
So does this
There
work?
That's better. There we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. So, and I love what you're saying, going back to just taking action going forward. I think that's a huge, you know, thing for entrepreneurs. And it's great that you have that support from your husband to kind of support you first off overall, but then support you with kind of taking that leap. And it's cool that you're able to get that acronym out of your family names there.
That was very serendipitous.
Yep. So let's talk about technology a little bit. I mean, how you've been in this space for a long time. Leap, you came up with Leap basically because you saw that need. I mean, what are the biggest things that are happening with technology in the recruiting industry that you see right now?
So my firm focuses on three areas, and they're really the three biggest areas of opportunity that I saw with the way that agencies were consuming technology. And the first is just the abundance of technology.
Right.
And, you know, you have investment going from, you know, $1.7 billion, we're up to $5 billion in new venture capital money going into HR tech. And so, you know, we're swimming in shiny toys.
Yep.
And as an industry that has been somewhat laggardly in adopting technology, the last thing that we need is a bunch of shiny objects.
Right.
We need focused, expeditious acquisition of technology when it's required. And so, you know, one of the things that I've really focused on is getting really, really well informed on what works well together, what doesn't, what has a really clean, clear-cut implementation guideline and strategy, as well as post-implementation support, and then so expeditious acquisition of technology, and then it's a business process change management. So what we were talking about, you know, right before we got on live here is that if the process is broken, you're going to apply technology to it, and it's going to be broken faster.
Right.
And so, you know, it's just technology is an accelerant, and so. part of what I do is really helping an organization look at the systemic why behind a business process. Really looking at, why are you posting that job? You have 1.5 million people in your inventory, right? So and really challenging some norms like that, where, you know, my reaction is I get a job order, I post a job, when my reaction should be I get a job order, I look at my inventory and I look at the most placeable candidates that I already have. And in a talent starved market right now,
Right.
I feel like one of the greatest assets that agencies are overlooking is what they already have. And so, you know, part of the business process change management is to clearly challenge some of this is the way we've always done it, but then also have them leverage the out of the box functionality that a technology can offer. So I think I've seen way too many firms who buy new ATSs and try and make it look like the old ATS that they were replacing.
Right.
You know, let's do all of this configuration to make it look like it used to. And you're like, but you actually bought a new tool, so it didn't look like that. So let's take the out of the box opportunity that we have with the technology. And then finally, one of the greatest wastes that I see is when you make this big giant investment, you go through all the pain of a digital transformation, and then you don't give your recruiters and your salespeople and your executives tangible talking points of your new differentiators, right? You're all brands sparkly new. Go tell the world, but go tell the world singing from the same hymnal. And so really helping agencies determine what their new differentiators are now that they have these accelerants or enablers engaged or implemented, and then go forth and conquer from there. So those were the three opportunities I saw within the industry, and that's where I focused my energies. And we certainly have more opportunity to reduce, view to apply. That is that I think we forget that is the end goal. That from the time I need a job to the time that I get a job is no longer 60 days or 90 days or whatever atrocious statistic we had for how long candidates were on the market, or the atrocity of the 28% response rate on average of agencies that are responding to applicants. That's not acceptable. We can't just respond to 3 out of 10 people. That's not going to work. That's not gonna work.
Got it. And I totally agree. Going back a step, you brought up a really good point that I think doesn't matter what your area of focus is, whether it's business development, operations, whatever you're going to apply technology, but the shiny objects. You know, I mean, I think that is probably one of the number one things that keeps people stuck where they are. It's like, oh, there's this cool tool. Let me, you know, and you know, being on Facebook and LinkedIn, you have people that are always asking advice on tools, and it's almost, I think, negative because of a lot of the things you're bringing up is, yeah, there's this tool, but how are you actually going to really utilize that tool? How is it going to become a part of your bigger strategy? How are you going to, you know, how are you going to make sure that you're not just going to go chase the next tool? I mean, what kind of advice do you have, you know, for people to kind of stay in a lane and implement, you know, one thing and not try to chase every new tool that's coming out there?
Yeah, if you're thinking of that you need something, ask yourself how you're going to measure it. Right? How are you going to measure it? So if I'm going to implement paperless onboarding, right? What are the measurements for success? Is it reduction in time to fill? Is it reducing or increasing your conversion rate from view to actual apply? Is it minimizing the actual application time so that you actually are hiring? You know, you don't just have applicants, you have actual candidates. And so I think if you can ask yourself when you're considering this, I need this because it's going to fix this. How would you measure it first? And what would the measurement of success be? And I think that'll answer a lot of the questions of, you know, what the systemic need might be. Because the technology isn't going to fill your orders for you. I see this happen all the time, particularly with ATS or CRM orders or implementations, is they're like, we don't have more orders. It's not going to sell it for you. It's just going to track it better. And so it's, you know, it's a proper implementation. And then how are we going to determine if this is actually helping you accelerate your sales or accelerate your recruiting? We're going to want to make sure that we have measurements of time to fill, and we have measurements of your closure rates and your win rates and, you know, your pipeline velocity and all of those types of things.
Right. So with that being said, do you think that there's, I'm sure there's, and I know there's a lot of tools out there that can help us leverage technology that, leverage ourselves. What is more important? Is it the tool or is it the strategy?
Strategy, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. 100%. I have taken many mediocre tools and help people enhance the way or optimize the way that they leverage those mediocre tools to affect the bottom line.
Right. Right. Now, when it comes to, the enhancing of the tools, all right, you there? Okay, cool. So when it comes to enhancing the tools and when you're coming in and working with a team, are you basically helping the entire organization implement a brand new strategy and then training their team to utilize the tool as well?
Yes. So typically I'm creating bespoke training for the organizations to make sure that we can take their new process, right, and apply the technology to it, because it's really about how people learn, and are we being cognizant and respectful of the auditory learner and the visual learner and the tactile learner.
Right.
So it's really, really important that we put materials together that are respecting all of those different learning styles.
Right. You're muted. Oh, okay, got it. So yeah, the I think you bring up a good point with the learning styles, because there's so many people out there. When you talk about technology in general, like, it's just new, right? There's people that have been so successful in the space for so long that never really grew up with really any type of technology, and then making that transformation to now having a completely technology company. I mean, is there certain strategies you recommend in terms of like implementing all things at once, or is it more of like a streamlined flow of one at a time, let's bite off what we can chew type of a thing?
That is a juicy question, right? The Big Bang Theory or the systematic. So I am a huge, like, systematic, very deliberate expansion of a technology, and here's why: is because I've done both.
Right.
And if there is always going to be something that doesn't go 100% right.
Right.
And so I think that if you can control, right, obviously there's UAT and QAT, your user acceptance testing, your quality acceptance testing, all of those types of things are really, really important. But inevitably, you're not going to have configured something, exactly right. And when you do the Big Bang Theory, it's times 1,000.
Right.
If you have a very, very deliberate, focused approach to, starting one place, even if it's geographical or vertical, that is always my preference. But I've seen both work. I just think that I think the damage that's done from an internal branding perspective when something goes sideways with the software, I think you have a hard time overcoming the perception of, well, this is crap technology. Look, this one thing didn't work, right? And that overtakes this. It doesn't matter if you gave them 99 efficiencies, that one thing that goes wrong and goes wrong famously is the one thing that everybody thinks about when they think about the implementation of technology. And so there is something to be said for proper branding, proper, the proper optics,
right,
when you're implementing a new technology, because attitude is everything with adoption. If people are like, no, I don't like it, or Sarah said it sucks, you are going to have a hill to climb in getting people bought in, and you're going to have enough hills to climb to iron it all out. Don't do that to yourself.
Right. How important do you think it is to have the leader bought in first? Right.
Oh my God. Yes. Executive sponsorship is a requirement if I'm going to be involved. Right. Executive sponsorship is a requirement. Your people have to know the why, and I hate to quote Simon Sinek, but he is right. It does start with why. It does. it does start with people understanding what's the vision of this. Why are we doing this? How is it going to impact me? How will it make me better? Why are you changing what I'm doing? It was working perfectly fine.
Right.
But starting with the why, it helps people see there's going to be a little bit of business disruption, and we're sorry for that. But here's what it's going to mean to the overall organization. Here's how it's going to impact your pocketbook specifically. Here's what you're going to benefit, and here's how your customers are going to benefit. If you can paint that picture for them, just the attitude alone and on accepting this, bigger overarching change, even smaller change, can be significant.
Right. All right. No, I totally agree. If you don't have the blessing from up top, then there's a lot of work that the rest of the team isn't going to really want to take action on.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to think this is an unsponsored rogue science experiment.
Right. Yeah.
So, I've been there too, and that sucks.
So what are some of the things, like, what, for, recruiting owner that's listening to this right now, like, what are some of the things that they should be looking at where technology, that they may not have thought of technology as an opportunity in a certain area of their business? Like, what are the kind of key areas that you think technology should be a part of a recruiting business now?
Oh my goodness. I don't think that I feel like the question is more, where is it not applicable? Because I feel like we have created so much opportunity to accelerate and create a more human experience leveraging technology. And I know that sounds super strange, but think about it this way. If somebody is in job seeking mode, right, at 10 o'clock at night, and we have a bot that can and they came home from a really crappy day of work and they just want to take action. They need to feel like they took action on coming home from work and saying, I got to get out of here.
Right.
How do we as an industry enable them to do that? Well, a bot could help them do that. They go to their site, we say, hey, Donnie, so great to see you. We're so glad you chose us. Answer a couple questions for us. Then when the recruiter comes in the next day, they've got a screened candidate. They answered these questions. We can follow up with them. So it does create this timeliness that we need to pursue these relationships with candidates when they're looking. And then I feel like there's and paychecks, right? How do we've got, daily pay and weekly pay, and, we're adding this immediacy. We're empowering people through their mobile device to choose their schedule, to choose which agencies they want to work for, to pick their projects. I mean, there is so much control that we are putting in the candidate's hands. There's no reason that every part of the process can't be enabled in a more meaningful way with technology.
Right. And I think you bring up a really great point that I'd like for you to elaborate on, and that is that technology makes you more human, not less. It allows for better interactions with people. It's not the opposite. And I think because people have seen where people try to automate the entire process, and that kind of creates a disconnection. But like when you're automating them and using technology in the right parts of the process, that frees up time to spend more time with these people, talk to these people, service them, at the level that you're talking about.
Well, think about just the way you and I interacted, right? I was so geeked out on the LinkedIn messaging that you sent me, and you prepped me for the entire call by sending me messages. I got to read them at 9:30 at night when it was good for me. I got to read them in between listen to them in between meetings when it was good for me, and enabled me to be prepared for you, on this show, right? And so we do the same with candidates. We enable them to share more information about themselves so that when we have the conversation and we talk in a more meaningful and a deeper way about what it is that they're looking for, we can make a better match. I hope, and this is my hope, and I think this is why I wanted my own firm. This is why it is very dangerous to say recruiters are going to be replaced, and this is going to happen here, and it's going to all be machines and robots doing that. No. I think the bots and the automation is going to allow us to have more human connectivity, so that we, instead of just screening resumes, we can actually have a conversation with a candidate.
Right.
I hope that we take the damn job off the table. I used to tell my recruiters all the time when we'd sitting in the bullpen, I'm like, take the job off the table, have a conversation with another human, find out what they're looking for, what's important to them, then think about what opportunities we have for them that might be in line with that. And if we don't, we're honest with them and we tell them and we share with them what we're going to do to find that opportunity that they're looking for. But the reason I'm so passionate about technology as an enabler and not a replacement is because my hope is that we can have more meaningful conversations with the time we saved, not meaninglessly screening people,
Right.
doing all of the administrative repetitive. I always say it shouldn't be robotic process automation, it's repeatable process automation. What are
Right.
the repeatable processes that we can go through and have technology rinse and repeat for us?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's really, to highlight a point of you and what you're about is, you're passionate about people and technology is the driver, right? It's like,
Yeah.
you're not trying to replace anything. You're
Mm-mm.
trying to make the better experience for your clients and for their prospective, job seekers, and their clients, and making that whole process better so that essentially you can impact people at a higher level.
100%, because I live right next to the Silicon Valley, right? So I was up against Winolo and Blue Crew Jobs and Stella and all of the Ubers of that were competing with staffing. And check it out. The problem with complete and total automation, and I proved it every time, and I got the customers that went to Blue Crew and went to Winolo, I got them back 100% of the time, because when the crap hits the fan, guess who's on site solving it for the customer? Guess who is face-to-face saying, this is what we're going to do to fix it. Here's what's happening here. Here's what's happening here. Moving forward, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And check it out. An app can't do that.
Right. Yep.
So,
Got to be the people.
Yes. That it is just enabling. Hey, look, if technology can help us with more on demand and help with some self-service, and it allows us to be on site more, wouldn't that be better for the customer?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love it. So what would you say, and I know this, I'm going to throw a loaded question at you here, but what's the number one technology trend that people should be on right now?
I mean, obviously, your automation, any time throughout the engagement process to automate. And so I'm a huge fan of Sense and Herefish. I think they have been game changers for better utilization of your inventory, redeployment, referrals, references. That they're game changers in creating efficiencies within your ecosystem. And that has been, for me, one of my, I created a program at Volt in partnership with a few other people called Career Forward, so that at 60 days, I used to have a team of people at 60 days calling people saying, hey, your assignment's going to end in 60 days. Hey, I want to let you know, because I was losing out on so many people that once that 60-day mark hit, they freaked out. They left the job early, and I missed the candidate. I missed the employee altogether on the next assignment. And so, we have such an opportunity with automation to just use what we have in a better way. And so I'm wildly, if you aren't automating in that way. And then I think one of the side effects from COVID that we are starting to just see the inklings of is we've created some secret dysfunctional factories in Teams and Slack, and we've created almost like these ATSs outside of our ATSs. So anything that is going to create collaboration and communication within your existing tool and bring all of that goodness back. I always say there is no transformation without integration. If you are making your recruiter's swivel chair, stop it right now and figure out how we get it integrated. Whether it's a new technology that integrates with your core product, fine. But you've got to change that swivel chair inefficient garbage that's going on right now, because we created a whole host of new problems. And I love the fact that we were able to adopt and communicate, through this medium with COVID, and we've proven that we can work from home and do all of these wonderful things, but we are creating factories outside of our ATS. And there are solutions like Cloud Call's got a messaging
Right.
tool, within say a Bullhorn, so that you can bring those conversations back in. You've got interview tools like Odro that got Teams connectivity and Hinterview, where you can bring all of that good greatness, all those those wonderful conversations back into your ATS. So anything that is creating automation and collaboration and communication opportunity in your central nervous system is where people need to focus their energies. And the rest, obviously, I'm a huge fan of on-demand because it puts the power in the candidate's hands. It just has to be done right. And I do think that we're not necessarily thinking 5 years ahead of ourselves with this, because the average candidate signs up for 4 to 6 job boards when they're in job seeking mode.
Right.
Not every agency has their front office and back office in one app. So we're potentially asking a candidate to download 8 to 12 apps when they're in job seeking mode. So, everybody's got to have their own app. Everybody's got to white label this and white label that. Let's just pause for 1 second before everybody freaks out and gets their own app. Let's pause for just 1 second and think about what that experience is going to be like for the candidate in 5 years. So yeah, I love on demand because I love the fact that it puts the power in the candidate's hands.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points with that. Look at the story you're bringing up earlier, somebody showing up, coming home from work late, frustrated, being able to get some initial response right there, getting, those little details make a big difference in the overall experience.
Yeah.
And that's a huge differentiator. And you brought that up earlier, and I want you to elaborate on that if you can, about once you implement technology and once you have some competitive advantage, like how are you recommending to your customers to really share that and put that out there as a differentiator?
Well, this is what I've been saying to anybody who'll listen to me, is you would not, my husband builds race cars, and my brother, my father, my husband, and my father-in-law all race cars. And so you wouldn't buy a car and not change the damn oil. So I don't know why people or agencies think they can train on a new technology one time and then walk away from it. This is an ongoing thing that needs to be nurtured. Help your people understand how they're going to take phase 1 of the goodness of the technology, and then phase 2, and then phase 3. And by that time, by goodness, they're probably going to a new version of it. So what additional or enhancements are we going to be getting? This is an ongoing thing. So anybody who thinks otherwise, I'm selling you oceanfront property in Arizona. So this is not a one and done type of thing. So yes, training is an ongoing thing. And then as far as tips to get everybody really excited about it and get it adopted is, the starting with the why. Tell them what's coming. I think, when I see these implementation plans of this is what we're doing, and talking at people instead of saying we heard you, right? So I'm always a big fan of team, a town hall where we elicit a little bit of feedback. What are your impediments? You're going to know what the impediments are because you have the big data, but just asking the question makes people feel a part of the solution. And so I have this whole 8-week cadence of, sort of internal marketing before we even go live, so that people know what to expect and they're excited about it and they see the bigger vision. And there's the top down, goal setting of this is what we're moving towards. And then there's an ongoing cadence of what this is going to mean for you. And I'm a huge advocate of, carrot it out for them. We created this little certification program in my previous life where every time they did a LinkedIn class, they got a little LinkedIn certified logo on their signature. And every time they did a Indeed class, they got a little, completed this little check mark, and they got to put it in their signature line. So, they have all the flair.
Right.
They have all the flair. They have all their flair, right?
Yep.
And recruiters love flair. Salespeople love flair, and training them on the material will help them then go out into the world and evangelize the message the right way, the differentiators, how this makes us more efficient, because they will have lived it. So really good training and really good transformation, the side effect of that is having this beautiful message that you can send out to the world to evangelize your differentiators.
Right. And technology is a huge differentiator now, with all the things that you've mentioned throughout this entire interview. So I thank you for bringing that up and clarifying like that whole differentiator, putting it out there. I mean, if you have all these systems, you have all these ways to make the process better, but you're just sitting behind and the only people that know it are you and your team, you're doing the market a disservice.
Right. And I'll tell you a story. When I was on site, and any on site can probably empathize with this, I used to watch. I would sit in disbelief because I could see the front door and I would see this competitor rep come in like every Thursday and sign into the book. And I'm like, why is it? It was a deco at the time. I'm like, why is he even entertaining this meeting? Why is he even saying, yes, I'm here, I'm on site, I'm busting my ass. I have 425 people here. Why is he taking the appointment? What
Right.
am I doing? Right. So finally, one day, I just had the courage to say, why are you taking? I feel like you're cheating on me. Like, why are you even taking the meeting?
Yeah.
Right? And he goes, why are you being so emotional about it? I said, because it's driving me crazy. It's like the 7th time you've sat down with this person, right? And I haven't said a word. And so I finally said something. And he said, well, did you know they're doing this, this, and this? And I'm like, did you know I do that before 9 o'clock every day? And he said, no, I had no idea. And therein started our weekly newsletter where I was communicating and constantly selling to all of my buyers what we were doing on site and he never entertained another meeting while I was on site. Now, I don't know what he did in his spare time, but never again did I see him take an appointment because I took every opportunity to demonstrate to them all of the things that I was doing to differentiate myself from those yahoos that were walking in every Thursday.
Right.
So the same thing is applicable with your tech stack. You have to take every single opportunity to differentiate yourself from the next guy. And if you're not doing that, check it out. The next guy's gonna.
Right. Well, it's all, I always say, when it comes to branding and things like that and getting your message out, either you're going to control your narrative or somebody else is for you. And oftentimes the other narrative is going to be whatever story they come up with in your head about you. And so it's so important to get that message out there. I love what you're saying. There's so much opportunity to make that better for all companies.
Yeah. Yes. And if you do your, so one of my sort of strategies is I will stay engaged during configuration. So if we're getting a systems integration partner engaged because there's large conversion and we have a lot of configuration that's going on, I'll usually stay engaged during configuration so I can pull out some of the differentiators so
Right.
that, if there was this really cool interview that you did, how do we find a more efficient way to do it through the process? How do we configure it? But then how do we take that really cool process and make something of it and trademark it or, create it? So if you do your transformation the right way and you actually really go and look hard at all of your processes, are there little nuances that you can pull out that really set you apart? I have a customer who does their interviews with their people, meaning when they send a candidate to a customer, they actually go, the recruiter goes with them. It's like a three-person interview. It was the coolest thing I'd ever heard of. And they were talking about it like that was just, yeah. Everybody does that. And I'm like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
So how do we document that? How do we make the most of that? How do we, set that on fire for the world? And there are little examples that all agencies do, and they just don't realize that they do it. So really looking at your workflows and your processes can help you pull out those beautiful things.
Yeah, I find that so many people in this industry really kind of devalue themselves and what they bring to the table. They think that what I do is the same as everybody else. And there's a lot of stories to be told for each individual out there, and how they're just subtle nuances of the way they do things different beyond just technology that you've talked about, but having the confidence to say, hey, this is what we do. This is what we do better than everybody else, instead of, well, somebody else is doing the same thing. And you know what? Somebody else might be doing the same thing, but if you're the one that's not saying it and they're the one they are saying it, who's going to get the business? Who's going to get the reputation?
I had an agency owner that was like, we don't want anybody to know our tech stack. That's a secret. I'm like, what? No, you need to tell the whole world that you're using this, so your customer knows that you're fueled by enablement, so they know that you have a super cape on.
Right.
You got to tell everybody. And it's not the technology, it's how you use it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's how you use it that's going to be your superpower. And so that's a big misnomer, is that my tech stack has to remain a secret. I experienced that from my previous life. I was doing a press release on it, and we were going to talk about the stack, and oh my goodness, corporate counsel was just about to lose it, because we can't tell anybody that. I was just like, oh my goodness, yes, we can. Our secret sauce is how it's applied internally, and what we do with all of the beautiful analytics that we have, and how we respond, and how quickly we respond, and what your response process is going to be if like, let's say you're implementing something like Sense, and you get a score that's lower. How are you going to respond to that? That's all the secret stuff,
Right.
Not the fact that you use Sense.
Right. Exactly. How you use it. So good, Lauren. Thank you so much. This has all been very, very impactful, valuable information. Who have been 3 people that have really been influential on, for you in your personal journey?
Oh my goodness. So in my personal journey, so, Rana Driggs, she's the CEO of Impresaria. I give her a shout out every time that I can, because she believed in me probably when I didn't believe in myself. And she's been a good friend, a great mentor, and just somebody that's always sort of stood me up. And, in a 23-year-long career, I've only had, 2 women really that stood out, and she was one of them. And then I am so lucky to call Heather Monahan. She's the author of The Confidence Creator. She is a coach. So I decided to invest in myself this last year, so that I could continue to get better. And if you are a business owner, invest in yourself. I was feeling tired. I was feeling sluggish, and I knew I needed to do something meaningful for myself. And the best thing I did was, reach out to Heather and sign up for her mentorship, her coaching program, because that has been a confidence creator for me for sure. Heather Monahan. And then who else? Leslie Vickery. She is the CEO, and you'll notice all women, right? So Leslie Vickery is the CEO of Clear Edge Marketing. And, we became very, very fast friends years ago, and have sort of leaned on one another through the good and the scary times. And she has been a really meaningful part of my career. And so, external. And so she's amazing, and I love her. Those are my 3 bomb women that have supported me and have been a really meaningful part of my growth.
Love it. So how can everybody get in touch with you? Want to learn a little bit more about your business, just get into your world? I know you've got a great presence on LinkedIn, but how can people, get in touch with Lauren?
Well, obviously, I'm the GOAT leader on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. You can also find me at Leap Consulting Solutions, www.leapconsultingsolutions.com. I always give my email address out, lauren@leapconsultingsolutions.com. And then, I have Instagram, which is Leap Jones. So yeah, come find me. Let's play tech.
I love it. So much value, so much that you brought to the table today. Can you leave us with one last nugget, your one piece of advice you'd give to our audience here?
Okay, so you have a recruitment audience here. Do not be afraid of technology. It is your friend. And no matter who's telling you that it's going to replace you, they're wrong. They're 1,000,000% wrong. Think of it as your Superman cape or Superwoman cape and embrace it, because it could make you really powerful and it could make you a crap ton of money.
Crap ton of money. That one I will echo for sure. Well, thank you again, Lauren, for being here with me today. Relevant Recruiter Group, we've got another live interview next Friday. In fact, it's another GOAT. His name is Jeremy Jensen. He'll be joining us Friday. If you've been hanging out on LinkedIn, you've probably seen some of his posts and some of his things he has going on. So we will be back next Friday for another live show. Lauren, thank you so much again for being here, dropping all the value and knowledge. Everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.